Hello again everyone, and welcome back to the channel. Today's video is a little bit different. No reviews, no deep dives, no flying, as you can see. This one is just going to be me talking to you. There's been quite a lot on my mind lately regarding the channel, and I think it's come time to share some of my thoughts, some of my concerns, and some of my desires regarding Into the Blue simulations going forwards. I want to be clear and upfront, this is not some sort of dramatic farewell or a tale of woe, nor am I looking for anything specific. But the truth is, things have changed quite a lot recently here on the channel, and I feel like it's time to be honest with you about where I'm at, where the channel is heading, and hopefully as well get some feedback from you on how we move forwards. To cut to the chase, the channel has unfortunately been struggling of late. Views have dropped off significantly. My last video, for example, barely hit 5,000 views, which is the lowest number I've seen on the channel in years. A bad video here and there is certainly something one can take on the chin, but the reality is the channel has been in decline for about 6 months now. Views, subscriber growth and ad revenue are all down by roughly 2/3, and it seems at the moment, more or less, with each subsequent upload I'm getting lower viewer numbers. Of course, video creation is not supposed to be just a numbers game, but it is certainly quite disheartening to see very little correlation at the moment between the amount of effort that I'm putting into any given video and its subsequent success here on YouTube. I do invest a lot of time, effort, and often money into my content, and with fewer people watching, I do find myself wondering whether I'm investing my time wisely, and ultimately whether or not the process is still worth the effort. For those of you who don't know, I started this channel back during the pandemic, back when I was relatively young, free and single. Work had slowed down drastically, of course, leaving me with an abundance of free time to create content. These days, I'm married, I have 2 kids, life is certainly very busy, work is more demanding than ever, and I simply don't have the endless hours that I once did to produce content. On top of that, over time my videos have become increasingly more complex to create, and I hope more refined as well. Which of course means they now take even longer to produce, and as it stands, in order to produce 2 videos a month, which is what I aim for, YouTube is burning through most of my free time. Historically, this channel has been built around add-on reviews, and especially aircraft reviews within Microsoft Flight Simulator. I've always loved checking out new add-ons, learning new aircraft types, and for a long time now showcasing them to you, my audience. However, once more, a lot has changed since I started the channel, and to be completely honest, things are now at a point where I find the process to be a little bit frustrating at times. Firstly, there simply aren't all that many Microsoft Flight Simulator add-ons that have excited me of late. There is of course a ton of new stuff out there for sure, but a lot of it feels pretty casual, rushed or unfinished, including Microsoft Flight Simulator 2024 itself. On a number of occasions I found myself loading up 2024, scrolling through the marketplace with an eye to reviewing something, only for my enthusiasm to evaporate as I see a plethora of substandard add-ons, overpriced delivery packs, and now also upgrade fees for 2020 portovers. It's not necessarily that I've fallen out of love with the franchise itself. If you've been watching this channel for any length of time, you'll know how much I do love Microsoft Flight Simulator 2020, and some aspects of 2024 are undoubtedly a technical triumph. But for now, the new sim hasn't really grabbed me. I don't really enjoy Microsoft Flight Simulator 2024, and looking at the metrics, it does seem as though that is the case for many of you also. In fact, I think 2024's muted reception is at least one part of the puzzle when it comes to the drop in my viewing numbers. Certainly the drop-off did occur concurrent with 2024's release. Currently, I find myself having way more fun in X-Plane, both 11 and 12, and at the moment those are my go-to sims when I just want to sit down and enjoy some virtual flying. Further to that, the scale of competition in the add-on review space is vastly different from what I experienced when I started the channel. These days, to be frank, making videos often feels like a bit of a race. If you're not the first with a video, you are at a serious disadvantage, and given my work schedule, my particular approach to content creation, i.e. the heavily edited and, I hope, well-prepared style of my videos, I'm rarely able to cross the finish line ahead of my quote-unquote competition, and to be honest, that is a rat race that I've become a little bit tired with. Pair that with the YouTube algorithm where, like it or not, and I certainly don't, hype drives most things. If an add-on isn't insanely realistic or the ultimate study level add-on, your interest can be generally pretty muted. I know that some people will say simply don't chase the clicks, but the reality is I create my videos because I want people to see them, and titles along with thumbnails make all the difference. Again, I do pour a ton of effort into each and every one of my videos, and of course I want them to do well. Historically, I think that approach has paid off, but at the moment it does feel as though I have little to no control over whether a video, or the channel more generally, succeeds or fails. As I say, for a long time it did seem as though my somewhat cinematic editing style had helped keep my content engaging for you, the viewers, and therefore my videos have historically tended to do quite well with the YouTube algorithm. More recently though, that doesn't seem to have been the case, and herein lies the real crux of the issue. A typical Into the Blue simulations video takes 2 to 3 days to produce, from recording to editing, thumbnail creation, uploading, and final proof watching. That is obviously quite a lot of time, and honestly that kind of investment only really makes sense if the video is going to be a quote-unquote success. Of course, success is subjective, and I'm usually happy with the final product that I put out, so I certainly love hearing from those of you who enjoy the content. On a practical level though, for me success means around 20,000 views or thereabouts, certainly not less than 10, and ideally enough ad revenue to justify the time spent creating the video, and as well to cover the costs of any add-ons that I feature in the content. In short, I want to try and maintain a healthy balance between the amount of time and effort that I'm putting into the content versus what the video is providing in return. Essentially, I think I'm now at a tipping point with the channel, and I have been considering where I go from here. As I see it, I have a few different options available. Firstly, I could just keep doing what I'm doing and see if things pick up again. To be honest, whilst this would be my preferred option, I've already been in this holding pattern now for a couple of months, and as I mentioned earlier on, I seem to be very much stuck in a downwards trend. But in the near term, probably for the next 2 or 3 months, this is what I'll likely continue to do, and we'll see how we go. Another option would be to simplify my videos. That way I can cut back on the editing, which would make things far easier and take up a lot less of my time. But honestly, I don't have too much interest in producing that kind of content. A third option, and one which I'm already tentatively exploring, would be to switch to a heavier focus on X-Plane content. I know that would mean generally lower views and possibly alienating a large portion of my audience, which I certainly don't want to do. But it would also allow me to create more unique content rather than chasing trends within Microsoft Flight Simulator, and as well allow me to spend more time in a sim which, as I say, I am currently really enjoying. In a similar vein, another option which I do find appealing, and one which I have already had some success with here on the channel, would be to focus more heavily on unique add-ons and interesting flights. Essentially featuring aircraft that you don't tend to see all that much of on other channels. So for example, more flights in Concorde, the SR-71, the DC-6 and so on. I do really enjoy making these sorts of videos, but again they often require quite a lot of work and planning to make properly. And I think I would need to see consistently higher viewing numbers, similar to that which I used to get here on the channel, in order for the process to make logical sense. Option number 5 would be to try and crowdfund the channel to a larger degree than I have been doing historically. That would of course mean trying to increase the number of channel members and patrons that I have. I have long been thinking about restructuring channel memberships to try and make them more affordable at a lower tier. And I could also try and take on some relevant sponsors, although that will be harder now with lower view numbers. Of course though, money is only one side of the equation, and I certainly don't want YouTube to become a begging exercise. To be frank, whilst it certainly does help to justify the amount of time that I spend creating content, I don't need the money per se. Though it certainly would be nice to move away from a reliance on YouTube ad revenue, and would allow for a little bit more creative freedom. The last option that seems plausible to me, and it's something that I've considered on several occasions, I could try my hand at live streaming. There are already plenty of flight sim streamers out there of course, many of whom are far more entertaining than I could ever hope to be. But live streaming would massively cut down on my workload, whilst allowing me to be more interactive with you guys as well, which would certainly be nice. To be honest, I'd be sad though to move away from my more polished, pre-recorded content, since I feel like that's where my strengths as a content creator lie. But live streaming might be a good way to keep the channel alive, whilst also bringing back some of the fun. In conclusion then, if it does come to pass that Into the Blue Simulations has broadly run its course, Personally, I would rather accept that fact than be left flogging a dead horse. At the moment, it does feel as though the golden days of Into the Blue simulations are behind it, at least in terms of the channel's popularity. And I think it is unrealistic to expect the sort of viewing numbers that I saw in 2021, 2022, 2023. Obviously, at that time, the hype around Microsoft Flight Simulator 2020 was much higher than we see now with the newest sim. As well, we had many new and interesting add-ons being released, whereas now we tend to get more iterations of the same sort of aircraft. And as well, there is now a bigger split between 2020 users, 2024 users, and X-Plane users. It's highly unlikely that I'm going to be able to please all of those audience members here on the channel. For what it's worth, I doubt that whatever happens, I will completely walk away from this channel, as again, I very much enjoy what I do. But with that being said, if things do continue along this current negative trend, I will have to treat content creation as far more of a hobby, i.e. my uploads would become significantly more sporadic, fewer and far between, as I attempt to fit in content creation around the rest of my life, rather than vice versa. At the end of the day, I want to find a way to make this channel work without feeling enslaved to the YouTube algorithm and all that comes with it. I still love simming, I still love making videos, and I still enjoy sharing my passion with all of you. However, I do also need to be smart about how I invest my time, both for the sake of my family and for my own well-being. So, and I promise this isn't engagement farming, but I do want to hear from all of you. Other than reviews, which, to be clear, certainly aren't entirely off the table, what kind of content would you like to see, and what do you think would keep you coming back to the channel? Please do drop your thoughts down in the comment section below, and hopefully we can figure out something together. No matter what happens, and again, I don't have any plans to go anywhere for the time being, thank you, as always, for watching, supporting, and being a part of this channel. I do hope that you're having a great day wherever you are. Take really good care, and I will see you all again soon.